So a lot of people are curious about what Redis is and how you can use it in your applications, and especially in how it affects building web apps. So one thing that Redis is really great at is being super fast. So normally a database like MySQL is going to save everything to the hard drive, and it's going to do that for very good reason. It's going to do that to save this permanently. You want to make sure that if the power goes out, that the users that have signed up and paid you are actually going to be around when the power comes back. Now, Redis is designed not to care as much about that stuff, and it actually runs in memory. And that means that Redis is extremely fast. And it's also extremely simple. It only allows you to store strings, hashes, lists, sets, sorted sets, and a few other things, but they're basically very simple. And the beauty of this is that it allows you to do all this very quickly and simply, and that means that it can be very quick. So the simpler the data structures, the simpler and faster Redis will be able to run. So here's a good example of how you could use this in your application. So imagine this here at the bottom, pulling these 5 tweets from the database. If you want to grab these recent tweets, you have to go through and ask the database to look up 5 recent tweets. It has to read from the hard drive and pull out 5 of them. And then it has to take each one of those and then say, okay, let's put the avatar here. Let's put the text here. Let's parse out this link and put the HTML around that for the link. Let's do that again and again and again and again. And that's only for one single page view. Imagine you have 1,000 people asking for this page at the exact same time. You have to render this little chunk 5,000 times because you have to do it once or 5 times for each request that's came in. So that is kind of slow, and these don't change that often, so you probably want to be caching them. Well, Redis is perfect because you're saving stuff in memory, which means that you could do this the hard way the first time. You could take the HTML and then save it into Redis as a string. And because these are persisted in a separate database, it's fine if the power goes out on the Redis server and there's no results and you lose this. You can actually cache these, and you don't care if they get deleted out of the cache. You can actually just say, whatever, we'll go look it up and do it the hard way again. So Redis is the perfect tool for stuff like that can be sort of saved for performance reasons and then thrown away safely. The other super duper cool thing is its message brokering functionality, which normally is called PubSub. So if you take a look at the documentation, you'll see Redis PubSub, which is basically the idea of publishing and subscribing to channels. So if you've ever used something like Slack for chat or IRC, you join a channel and then people can publish messages to it and you can subscribe to the channel and listen to the messages. So it's really simple how you can do all this stuff. And it is exceptionally cool to be able to do this in the terminal. So let's take a look at how we can do that. All you have to do after you've installed Redis is run Redis CLI. It will connect to it on the normal port 6379, and you can do the same thing in a separate channel, and so you can make a bunch of connections to this, and they can all talk to it. So the basic usage of Redis, and something you probably won't have to do that much manually because you'll probably do this from a programming language instead of in their CLI. But basically all of those are going to say, let's set some sort of key. So let's call it email, and you set a value on it. So if you want it to be a string, then you use the set command and you can pass in your email address, and it says cool. And then your other processes can ask for, let's get email, and it will return back the value for you. So that's really all it's doing. It's kind of like setting things in a Ruby hash. So if you're to do that in Ruby with IRB, you're more or less taking this like hash and you're saying, let's set the email to be equal to the same thing. So effectively, Redis is like this persisted hash in your server. So it's just storing all this information, and you can save in almost whatever you want into it. You can also do lots of different things. There's a giant list of commands here, but you can do things like authenticate with the passwords, but you can append things, you can have lists. So you could do something like, we could say, let's fake out Redis by making a Ruby hash. And you could say Redis, and you could do something like users, and this could be a list of users, and you would just have like your users in there, and Redis would be able to do that. And the way you'll do that is with either sets or lists. Sets are special because they allow you to have only unique versions. So let's find, yeah, here we go. L insert, L push, L index. All of these are for working on lists, and I believe there's S index and so on for sets. So if you do sets, sdiff store, you can look up the sets commands inside of their commands here. The really cool one though is when you're building stuff like chat, and you come in here and you say, all right, I'm going to subscribe to hashtag code thinking. And this will be simulating like a Slack channel or an IRC channel. And so you are just going to subscribe to this channel. And then someone else could say, let's publish a message in code thinking. And let's say, hey guys, we need to do that as a string. And you'll see that we get a one back saying it was successful, more or less. And then this other tab had some activity in it. And you can see here that there was a new message in this channel, and this is the value that was sent over. So that's really nifty. You can actually use Redis in order to like sit and listen for almost the same thing as the idea of push notifications. So you can have users go into a channel, they can get messages like that, and you can also use all kinds of different things. So this one could maybe subscribe to a totally different thing, like YouTube. And so then if you open up another one, you could have someone publish to YouTube and post a comment. And so this one is not going to get any messages, but because this had been subscribed to YouTube, it's receiving comments. So that's a really, really cool feature of Redis, in that you can add these channels and then it will be able to talk between them. So that is a major feature that Redis allows you to use, and is one of the most useful things. It's used for WebSockets all over the place. Rails Action Cable is going to be using WebSockets that are backed by Redis. So you can talk to users' browsers in real time, and you'll send messages to Redis, which will be then transferred over to the WebSocket to the user's browser. So Redis is really simple in the sense that you just are storing variables and values inside of a hash, basically. You can imagine Redis being just a giant hash in memory that you can do whatever you want with. But it also gives you those cool publish and subscribe features, as well as a lot of other stuff. But most of this is what you're going to be using it for. You'll use it for caching, anything that needs to be extremely fast. And then you'll also use it for publish and subscribing. And that is the majority of things. And that alone makes it incredibly valuable. But they've also got things like geospatial search with radius queries, which is so cool. And a lot of other things. So definitely check out Redis, play around with it. My favorite thing is definitely the publish and subscribe channels and how easy they are. And then taking that and building that with WebSockets or anything else. This is also fantastic if you need to talk to background workers or something like that.